Warning: the following podcast contains graphic content that may be disturbing or triggering to some listeners. Discretion is advised. The papatangosierradelta podcast is available free of charge thanks to the support of Cracked Armor.
Their mission is to raise awareness for PTSD, TBI, and mental health to support those who struggle. By creating an army of warriors who represent the gear, their hope is that it will send a message to others that they are not alone.
Go to crackedarmor.com, say hi to Mark Long, read about the story, and find some research information about PTSD. And if you can, look good while supporting Cracked Armor by buying some gear.
(10-9). Did you say Papa Tango Sierra Delta? 10-4.
There's so much left to do, so many things I wanna say, and I say, don't make the change. If it rains every single day, I'll fight to blow it all away.
This is episode 25 of the Papa Tango Sierra Delta podcast. My name is Larry Payton, and I have been diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress. I want to start this episode off with some news, kind of like a bit of an announcement. I'm sharing it here because when I was in the consideration stage, I had discussed it with a friend of mine, a person who's been a friend for many, many years. And at that time, my friend... Well, it came across to me anyway that my friend really wasn't super supportive of it. Really felt that it was something that I didn't need to do. However, it's something that I want to do. And I don't know if it's put a crack in our relationship, but it's something that I want to do. And I want to move forward with. And I'm going to move forward with. So the announcement is that I've been accepted to the Master of Arts in Counseling Psychology program at Yorkville University. There's a lot of cool things about this, including the fact that I can do it online. I really want to try to complete this. And I say I want to try to complete it because, well, it's been a long time since I've done school. It's been a long time since my undergraduate degree. I did great in my undergraduate degree. I didn't have any issues. But now, with some issues that I do have because of my post-traumatic stress, including being easily overwhelmed, being activated, and dissociating at times, I'm not really sure if that's going to get in my way of completing the program. Regardless, I am not backing down. I am not chickening out. I am not going to shy away because this is eventually what I want to do. Not tomorrow, but eventually I want to do this. I want to continue helping. This podcast has really been a huge, life turn for me. It's made a big difference, as has my diagnosis and everything I've done to learn about my diagnosis. Everyone I've spoken with professionally, as friends, as listeners to the podcast, as people who just approached booths that I was working at shows. And it just makes me really feel that this is what I want to do. I want to help people who are like me. And I want people who are like me to be able to have an opportunity to speak to someone who's like them. What I mean by that is the ability to speak to a professional who not only has the accreditation, but has also been through the shit. So that you don't have to wonder, how in the fuck does this person even understand what I'm talking about? How do they get this? They have no idea what it's like to pick up a chunk of a person that's shaped and weighted and completely feels like a raw steak. They have no idea what it's like to tell a loved one that they just lost a child. They have no idea about what it's like to be absolutely terrified going to a firearms call. I feel that could be very beneficial. And again, I just want to help people like me. I want to help those who are struggling. And I want them to be able to do it comfortably and to walk in with a sense of trust that they may not have for others that are outside of this, first responder, military, public safety group. I'm actually looking forward to doing this. I'm starting slow, but I'm going to give it a try with the hopes that in the future, I can be a clinical psychologist who specializes just in helping first responders, military, public safety individuals with their post-traumatic stress. That's the idea. We'll see how it goes. But hey, I am very positive about it. I know I'm going to work my ass off at it. I know I'm passionate about it. And ultimately, whether or not I succeed, I'm going to learn a lot, and that is very important to me because I really want to know as much as I can about what the fuck is happening in my brain and what is happening in the brains of my brothers and sisters. More importantly, how I can somewhat assist dealing with that, assist finding a path not only to peace, but to some form of post-traumatic growth. So yeah, a Master of Arts in Clinical Psychology. I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to give it a try. I start September. It may take me a long time. I don't know. But it's a move forward. It's a move towards post-traumatic growth. It's a move further in accepting my diagnosis, learning how to live with it, and continuing to be with my brothers and sisters. I also want to share that a good friend of mine, real fucking good friend of mine, been a friend since my days in Ottawa. We played in a band together. What's kind of cool is that the song that plays at the beginning of this podcast and at the end is the band that we had played in. The individual you hear singing and playing guitar, that's my buddy Phil. Great guy. Fantastic guy. And one insightful motherfucker as well. And I say that because, Jesus Christ, the guy's in his mid-30s and he really has quite a knowledge base. I mean, he's a teacher. I get that. So no doubt he's smart anyways. And he's helping shape minds of the future, which I think is fantastic. Phil's plane landed about 20 minutes after this episode was recorded. And we hung out. Phil got me out of the house for the past 3 days. Yeah, we went and kind of did some things I used to do and just had fun and talked a lot. Phil shared some stuff with me, and of course I shared lots with Phil. There was just some amazing wisdom. One thing he told me, and this is something that really stuck amongst a shitload of other things, but this one stuck. What I said to him was, I get frustrated at times because I feel that when I overcome an obstacle, there's like fucking 2 more that all of a sudden pop up. And it just frustrates me. Phil said, no, they didn't just pop up. Those 2 obstacles were there the whole time. The issue was you could never see them because you still had that first obstacle to get through. So accepting that you have 2 new obstacles means you also need to accept that you successfully overcame the previous obstacle, even to see these 2. That is deep, and that just gets me thinking. Damn it, there's some logic to that. And it makes sense, and I get it. And so I guess the takeaway from that is try to not focus on the fact that you have new obstacles before you, but be appreciative and recognize the fact that you have overcome obstacles in the past. And without doing so, you would never have gotten to a point that you have these new ones before you. I want to just give a shout out to those students in the Ottawa/Orleans area of Ontario. I really appreciate you listening, and I hope you're getting some good out of this. I just want to give you a heads up with regards to the episode you're about to hear. I'm talking with the individuals behind C2C for PTSD. I'm giving you a little bit of a heads up just so that you know it was recorded live and on location at Old Biddy's Brewhouse in Sackville, Nova Scotia. The audio may sound a bit different, well, because we're live and we're in a bit of an echoey kind of a room. And of course, there's life going on in the background. There's people around. There's noises. Yeah, it's going to sound a little bit different. However, also take into consideration that it was recorded with people who were stopping and listening. And that does change things a little. But it doesn't necessarily change it in a bad way. In my opinion, it actually changed it in a refreshing way. So I hope you enjoy the episode. It's a beaut. Let's take a quick break. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into the podcast. If you have experience with post-traumatic stress and would like to join me for an episode, please reach out to me. You can contact me via direct message on Instagram, PTSD_podcast, or you can send me an email at papatangosierradelta@gmail.com. Cheers. We are back from the break. Thank you very much for sticking around for the Papa Tango Sierra Delta podcast. On this episode, I am quite honored to have the crew from C2C for PTSD. We've got Chad, we've got Lisa, and we've got a gentleman whose name is Rick. However, As I've mentioned on a previous podcast, I keep calling him Tim. I don't know why. He doesn't even really look like a Tim. He looks like a definite Eugene, but not a Tim. I don't know.
Not a Eugene either.
Not a Eugene either. Guys, welcome to the show. You know what? We'll start as we always do. Chad, we'll start with you. And please introduce yourself and tell us about your journey.
Sure, man. My name is Chad Kennedy, non-combat veteran, living with some demons from 30 plus years ago. And almost the last 20 years I've spent in law enforcement. Most recently, the 15 years with the Alberta Sheriff Highway Patrol. In 2018, I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress due to accumulated traumas. And then we'll fast forward to July 18th, 2020. One of 6 law enforcement members first on scene at a mass casualty bus event in Jasper National Park. And that would really, to me, be the straw that broke the camel's back. When I think back to it, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it, if it hadn't have been for that day, I wouldn't have been getting the help that I'm getting now, nor would I be here today having this conversation with y'all. So, one of those things in my journey, I try and pull a positive out of the bad stuff. 2 weeks after that event, August 2nd of 2020, I wasn't really able to share my story or talk about what I had observed up at the Columbia ice fields. And that was the day I decided to die by suicide. Thankfully, myself medicating that night, kind of saved me. It that decision between suicide or the most irrational, drunken decision of my life was to walk Canada to raise awareness of post-traumatic stress amongst our first responders and our military and veteran brothers and sisters. And so that irrational decision became the most rational decision of my life, and I'm grateful for it. And I'm sure you're going to pick my brain. I know you did when we walked the highway together.
Well, we don't have 3.5 hours on this one, but for sure we're going to talk. Lisa, if you could please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey.
My name is Lisa Ellsworth. I'm a dispatcher with a local police service back in Ontario. There is no specific call that I can say started me on my journey. It's just been 20 years of call after call after call, thinking I was processing stuff, but not. And then it just kind of hit me over the head like a brick one day, and things seemed to start falling apart. I questioned whether I was a good mom, a good stepmom, a good daughter, a good wife, whether everybody'd be okay with or better off without me here. And it wasn't until I talked to a friend of mine who told me that it was cumulative PTSD. I don't have a diagnosis of PTSD. It's major depressive disorder and generalized anxiety. So it's just learning how to work through all that and learning that I'm not a horrible human being. And
no, not at all. No. So it's odd how we tend to do that to ourselves, though. Really just shit kick ourselves.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll get into that. Rick, if you could introduce yourself and tell us about your journey.
My name is Rick Chorney. I came down a long road of first responders background. I started off my career in corrections in 1994. In 1996, I was asked to attend a riot that was happening in Headingley Correctional Center in Winnipeg. And being new to corrections, or fairly new to corrections, I was quite excited to go. Little did I know that excitement would pass pretty quickly with some dark humor and some really dark memories.
Yeah.
It came back after the riot, about a year and a half after the riot. I joined the emergency response team, and I was on that for 5.5 years because my psychologist said I was cured after 6 sessions sitting in a dimly lit room with some babbling brook music, and he told me that I was all better then. So I had developed the necessary skills to cope with my PTSD in 1996. 14 years later, in April 2nd of 2010, it came back and said, "Hey, I'm back." Really bit me hard. From 2010 till about 3 years ago, I've done a number of different careers. I spent 5 years doing municipal policing. I spent 4 years doing government protective services, which was government security in Manitoba. I spent 12 years on a volunteer fire department, 9 of that as a medic. So tried to wear every hat, trying to pull myself out of the hole that I was in, and finally realized that after being diagnosed with complex PTSD that I needed help.
I would guess so. Yeah.
And it's going to take more than 6 sessions sitting in a dimly lit room.
Yeah. That statement is actually kind of cute. I can't help but say it's cute because it's like we now know that there isn't a cure per se, that it's not necessarily a lifetime sentence. I don't want to say that, but you will not go back to who you were before. You are changed. You can use it to your advantage. You can grow. And we're going to get into growth because that is where I see C2C for PTSD as a huge step towards a traumatic growth, whereby, we've all been diagnosed. However, Chad comes up with this idea for C2C for PTSD, and then next thing you know, Chad didn't come up with the idea, did he?
Oh, yeah. No, well, Captain Morgan came up with the idea. I'm grateful.
I want to hear more about this. Tell us how C2C for PTSD comes about, and tell us, what is it you're doing? What is C2C for PTSD?
Well, it like I mentioned before, it was, a drunken, irrational decision. I plastered it all over social media. The next morning, I was reminded that I had posted this all over social media. And I was told by a person whom I deeply love still to this day that, it's not too late to pull it down. It's just social media. And I'm like, no, you know what? I'm going to hold myself accountable. I said I'm going to do something. So I put the feelers out on a few platforms, and there, the response was amazing. A lot of people wanted to be a part of this. Out of the original crew, we got Lisa and Rick, who have been with me since day one. People have come and gone, and they've all played a very important part in making this campaign happen. Really, you can't do it without help.
No.
So what kind of rhymed in my head was C2C for PTSD. So a while after that, we put a line to it, and it stuck. And by August 9th, so a week after I was to die by suicide, I went out and bought a new pair of shoes, and I started training.
Wow.
Yeah. And here we are. It's been an amazing trip. And, it's all about just starting critical conversations everywhere we go. We don't need to share traumas. The people we meet, we're connected, and you usually feel it through, the hugs. It's the hugs.
Yeah.
People relate. For most of us, we're just faces in the crowd. The truck starts a lot of conversations.
Well, the truck is beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
The truck's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty. It looks pretty sharp. And then the guy driving it.
He's cool.
He's pretty cool.
He's the coolest guy.
Just imagine driving 6 kilometers an hour, 8 hours a day. That tells you how cool I am.
But he's got air conditioning.
Well, that's right. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. And you hit me when you said you started training. I obviously was not training, and I was very cocky, very, very fucking cocky. And I got out, and I'm like, oh yeah, we'll go as long as you want. We'll go as long as you want. And so it was a humid day. I had a bottle of water, which is fine. And then afterwards, I quenched my thirst with some beautiful brews.
Mm-hmm.
It really did not strike me until the next morning.
Yeah.
That was a very poor choice that I made. Yes, because I've never had the toenails on my big toe hurt before, but I don't know why, but they fucking hurt. Why do they hurt?
I wish I had an answer.
I don't get this.
Apparently, I finally listened to wise words from my dad to go get fitted for shoes. I had tried a lot of different pairs of shoes after our practice walk across Alberta a couple of years ago. I'm like, this shouldn't hurt as much as it does.
No.
Like there's flesh that will never grow back. And the toenails will fall off eventually.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and then you get fitted. Then you get fitted for shoes properly, and it makes a world of difference.
Oh, my God. The feet can be horrible enough when the toenails are gone. Dear God almighty. Well, thank God I have a hot tub, so I've been in that. That really has only helped marginally. I have found, I think Now I need a hip surgery on both sides.
Way to go, Lisa.
Right. And I don't know. I am very happy that I've learned the names of several muscles in my legs that I didn't know I had. So I've needed to learn those to figure out what exactly is hurting. And yeah, that was pretty much how that went. How far have you gone with this, man? Like, where did you start and how long you've been doing it? And
we started off in Cranbrook, British Columbia on April 4th of 2022. I've got to get my years right here. And we made it to Montreal, I guess the end of the first week in September, September 9th or something. And our good friend Rick here needed to get back to BC for some surgery. So we took the winter months off and we just kicked off June 2nd, just this side of Quebec City. And here we are now.
Wow. Holy shit.
Yeah. It's a few steps. Few calories burned.
No wonder your toenails are gone.
I've only lost one since last year. Only because I stubbed my pinky toe.
Oh, no, that would suck hard. That would suck hard. Lisa, how did you come to be involved in this?
I saw Chad's post on Facebook, his drunken night. Mental health is something I've always been interested in. It started when I was working in the casinos as security, and we were responsible for medical issues. And seeing how some people reacted to that, never having seen that, witnessed that, been involved in that. So I tried to put together a critical incident stress management type thing. It didn't really take off. And then when I saw his post, I'm like, yes. And I think that was when I started actually acknowledging what was going on with me. And so I just reached out to him and I said, count me in. I don't know what I'm doing, how we're going to do this, but count me in.
Wow.
Yeah, she works magic with logistics.
I would guess so, yeah. I would, because I mean, that's the other side of it. Let's be honest. We can joke around and talk about how much the walking itself hurts. However, the reality is this is a huge task to pull off. I mean, because, well, you have the vehicle to start, which is all deckled out in your sponsors in C2C for PTSD. You've got Lisa here helping. You've got Rick. There has to be food involved. Obviously, there's accommodations that need to be involved, fuel. I mean, there's a lot that goes on with trying to make this work when you're going C2C.
Yeah.
How is it that you guys went about that?
A lot of fundraising.
A lot of staring at my computer and Google Maps and trying to figure out which ways you can go and not go and where you're going to end up if you end up on the wrong road, and making sure, you hit as many places as possible. And
yeah, that'll do it. This must have been months in the planning.
Oh,
yeah.
2 years.
2 years in the planning.
Yeah.
Really almost 2 years until we stepped off. And then obviously it carried on to the third year.
Since that decision, do you still French kiss Captain Morgan?
Yes. I love that guy. So if there's any Captain Morgan reps listening,
just saying,
the captain saved my life.
Boom. Yep. Why is it that I all of a sudden want to put my right foot up in the air?
Yeah,
just my knee up.
Stance.
It's the stance. Yeah, it's the stance. Rick, how is it that you became involved in this?
Same as Lisa, same as pretty much everybody that's come and gone. I just happened to stay. I was interested in Chad's vision when he first put on Facebook that he was, we were on a mutually Facebook site that was for first responders. And I saw his post and just decided that was something I wanted to be a part of. At the time, I was having medical issues and not doing very well. And I think his post gave me a purpose and something to look forward to. So
yeah, that's amazing. Now, I mean, it must make it easier that all three of you have absolutely no families at home, no loved ones. Like you're complete. There's no way that you've done this, like leaving people behind for months. Is this happened?
Knock wood. I found myself single. So obviously there's my parents back home, my daughter and grandkids.
Well, that's big. Yeah.
But yeah, leaving a spouse behind, I find myself fortunate that way.
Yeah. Lisa, you have family back home?
I do. I have my husband and 6 kids and a grandbaby and my parents and...
Wow. Your husband must be... you just said 6 kids.
6 kids.
Wow. Have the locks been changed? Do we know this yet? Do we have word?
I'm probably going to find out when I get home.
No, that's awesome. Obviously, you have a lot of support to do this. And I mean, I know you can go do what you want to do and you don't need his permission per se, but I'm just saying it is support of your loved ones and your family. And
It is. And my kids were all for it. My parents have popped up in a few locations for us, been huge supports. My husband came and walked with us in Moncton.
Cool. Yeah.
I mean, he's always been supportive, but I think there's a better understanding on his part now that he's done the walk. He's gotten to hang out with these guys.
Right.
And the parts that I couldn't put words to, he now gets.
There you go. That's important.
Yeah.
That's important. And that's something I think we all struggle with, is trying to explain to someone who doesn't have it. Because, I mean, this is the thing, and I've said this a number of times on the podcast, that I get along so much easier with people who unfortunately are like me than people who are not. Right. And I feel, oddly enough, that I can be myself around people who are like me. Whereas, once again, if I'm not, there's a consistent mask that goes on. The mask is different when you compare it to which situation I'm in, but I just can't really be myself. And so it's sort of an odd dichotomy. Do you find that, Rick, that, you just find it easier being around people who understand?
Absolutely. When I went back after the first leg of the walk, when I had to go back for surgery, I found I was really struggling to find a reason to get up in the morning. And, after over 6 months on the road, getting up every day, having a purpose, knowing that there was something we were doing to me that was very important, that I knew from being with Chad for that length of time, basically 24 hours a day, that his vision was actual, seeing the people in the campsites and on the side of the road that would stop for a hug or stop.
Wow.
And, talk to us about how important it was that we were spreading the word, and the awareness really made me feel like I had a purpose.
That's, yeah. When we lose that, ultimately, it's the reality is a lot of times I feel that we lose that, especially if we, retire, whether it's medically or not, from our vocation, a lot of things that gave us an identity before, and we're trying to figure out what the hell is it we're supposed to do, especially when we feel, and I'm not speaking for you guys, but for me, at least, when I seem to find it a lot easier to think about the things I can't do than the things I can. I know, for example, that I can't go to a Costco. No, that's not going to happen. Grocery store shopping, I can't remember the last time I've done that, but I'm not really sure how that would go. And so, yeah, you're constantly looking for what is it I can do, especially when you just want to help people who are like you.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is ultimately what I'm doing, and this is completely what you're doing.
Right.
Right, exactly. So, you've got it tattooed on your arm, so you're committed to it. I mean, regardless if you took I don't know when you got your tattoo, but if you took one step or not, you committed to that.
Yep. This actually was done about a month and a half after I announced the walk.
Wow.
It's that, it's in my face all the time, holding myself accountable. And yeah, it was a challenge I created for myself. And every day I wake up, there's still days where, it's a challenge. Yeah. And I wake up in the morning, it's like, what is going on? What am I doing? Why am I doing it?
Yeah.
And I'm, Rick and Lisa will remind me of the whys every time we meet somebody and we get to have a conversation. But to look at this tattoo on my left forearm and yeah, man, hold myself accountable.
So on your journey, has there been a specific incident that sticks out in your mind as this was really cool, this meant something? And to take the pressure off you, everyone knows it's when you and I met, so you can move on from that one.
Oh, that was the best.
I know, I'm just saying.
You actually commented on my ass, which was amazing.
Well,
thank you.
If you were walking in front of me and I saw the booty shake, I had to give props. Where it was due. No worries, buddy.
Let me tell you.
You obviously don't follow him for 8 hours a day.
I'll tell you this, like 80% of my friends are RCMP members.
Wow.
And whether male or female, nobody has ever commented on my ass. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome, buddy. Yeah. So that was a special part. Any other special parts that came up, or really the rest of it was just shit?
I can tell you probably the most profound moment, and there's so many. So when we were doing our practice walk across Alberta, this little car went by us, pulled over in the middle of nowhere on on Highway 3 in Alberta. And a woman hops out, Kimberly, a veteran, and she came running back and latched onto me. And
Wow.
it was the most emotional hug that I have had in my life.
Wow.
The death grip and the tears in her eyes, tears in my eyes. And she left me with a fishing lures for vets. And she was basically gone, dumbfounded. Like a mission that I'm on,
yeah,
I would have no idea the impact it would have on somebody else. And I mean, we get so many messages from people who have found a new purpose or have been inspired to get up off that depressive train, which I call the couch.
Yeah.
Right? Where we
Right.
just, the whole walk itself is amazing. But when you remember the whys, it happens a lot where people come and join us in the middle of nowhere just for that hug or a thank you, and mind blowing. And there's so many powerful moments. Or when we're meeting the families of those who have died by suicide because of their PTSIs, it fuels the walk. So a lot of times where I'm walking down the highway by myself and I get to process the impact it's had on others, and I can have a good cry while I'm walking down the road and feel the purpose.
Amazing. Lisa, is there anything that's stuck out for you so far on your trip?
Just the people that come up and say thank you. And it's a genuine thank you. It's the hugs. It's the, thank you for letting me know I'm not alone. And thank you for bringing awareness. And for me, and actually here, it's been listening to stories about vets. And I got to say, I'm pretty friggin' angry right now, the way they are treated. And I don't know, I got to figure this out. But yeah, no, it's just the meeting people and hearing their stories. And, even for me, listening to their stories, knowing that, okay, I'm not the only one. Because there's still days where I think I'm the only one, even though I spend 24 hours a day with these two. It still crosses my mind that maybe I am alone. And
yep, I get that. I understand that. Do you want to go into the issue with how vets are being treated?
I can. It's just the lack of funding, the lack of help, the lack of everything for them. Things as simple as, no help in filling out their paperwork. They have no knowledge of what's available to them.
Right.
Like a gentleman we spoke to the other day said, some of the vets don't have Wi-Fi and internet. So unless they're mailed a letter, they have no idea what's there for them.
That's true.
And that bothers me a lot.
And really nothing's being done about it to see that every veteran is aware of VAC or other potential options for them.
Yeah. It made me angry the other day.
Yeah. Rick, is there anything that stood out to you on this trip so far?
I think every time somebody gets out of their vehicle and comes back to Chad, and the C2C campaign is about raising awareness, and it's about all of us that are in this journey together. But it is Chad's walk, and I get to see firsthand on basically a daily basis the people that get out of their vehicles or walk over on the side of the road and give him a hug, and they're in tears, or they come back to the truck and they say thank you for what you're doing. And we're just doing what we can to raise awareness. But one that stuck out for me was a gentleman that we met last night in the middle, sitting in the lounge, was in tears.
Wow.
Thanking us for what we were doing. And man, he gave me a hug. I've never had a hug like that before in my life. And
wow.
It was powerful.
It's moments like that.
Yeah.
That make it worth it.
And I keep telling every time that somebody walks back to their vehicle, I'll say to Chad over the radio, that's the why.
Yeah,
because
cool.
if you ever question why you're doing it, that's the why.
That's the why.
Yeah.
I like that. That's the why.
Mm-hmm.
That's deep. That is the why. I love it. Chad, so, you just ended up in the Halifax/Dartmouth area. Where do you head from here?
Tomorrow, which is kind of cool, we're heading over to Charlottetown, DEI. Spend a few days doing a little bit of walking, a little bit of ear sampling, a whole lot of conversations.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it's exciting. And then we'll come back to beautiful Nova Scotia for another while before heading over to the Rock to end things up.
When is the plan to end it up?
August 4th.
August 4th.
St. John's, Newfoundland.
Okay. So August 4th, you're going to come into St. John's, and I'm not sure if you want to talk about St. John's, Newfoundland, and one of the things that I know you had mentioned that is going to make it very special. Is that something you're comfortable talking about?
Absolutely.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. Well, which part? The screeching in ceremony?
Sure. No,
No.
not that part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Terry Fox Monument.
There you
Jumping
go.
into the Atlantic.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
My dad is flying out for that.
You would also mention there was someone who had taken their life, and you were going to roll into St. John's.
Yeah. So, it's so sad. So, a member back in K Division 3 years ago now died by suicide. He was a close friend of a few of my Mountie friends. Last year during the walk, I actually, through social media, got in touch with his mom. So, Mama Sebi, I know she'll listen to this. I'm looking forward to meeting her and, sharing a hug. It's not about sharing stories. It's she's supported the walk. And obviously as a survivor of suicide, understands the importance and the hopes that we can save one family from going through suicide. So that's, that to me that's the cherry on top. To be able to hug this lady and give love from all of us back in K Division. It's going to be a special moment.
No doubt. I mean, Lisa, I would imagine it's fair to say now that you've made connections and contacts throughout the entire country.
I have, and it's been great. There's some people that I've somewhat lost contact with that I wish I hadn't, but that's on me too. So, but yeah, it's been interesting and great to meet people and reach out and message them every now and then, and it's been a good part. I was texting someone this morning, and we made a comment. It's that human contact,
right?
That genuine human contact.
Rick, how happy are you to be in the vehicle when there's a monsoon outside?
Absolutely. You know what? It's not just happy. It's scared sometimes because we've had some close calls, a couple of close calls on the highway where I've ended up bringing Chad off the road because the rain is coming down so hard I can't see safely behind me what's coming up, and having him out on the road basically on his own just isn't something that I'm prepared to be comfortable with. So
no, I mean, have there been close calls? I mean, obviously that is a huge issue, but have there been other close calls?
There's been a couple where if I hadn't moved the truck quick enough, the truck would have been hit for sure. Chad has been in a safe space for as much as I can keep him there, but like I said, at 6 kilometers an hour for an 8-hour day, not only am I watching him, but I got to watch all the traffic coming up from behind.
That's right.
It's definitely something that is on my mind all day.
Yeah, well, it can be harrowing as well, I imagine, because, I mean, there's some big vehicles that are going pretty fast and not necessarily paying full attention to what they ought to be.
Absolutely. And we had the closest call was in Manitoba, and it was monsooning, and had a half ton that decided they were going to come across that fog line and move me over.
Oh,
and
nice.
I didn't even have time to honk at Chad. It was just a matter of getting out of the way and knowing that he was still safe where he was. Yeah, there's been a couple of scary moments on the highway for sure.
No doubt. August 4th, you end up in Newfoundland.
Yep.
You have gone sea to sea.
Just about. We couldn't officially start at the Pacific due to Mother Nature washing out a bunch of BC's highways last year. But when all is said and done, next year we'll go do some of the lower mainland in BC, and yeah.
Yeah, so all right, so next summer you're going to do some of the lower mainland, make yourself over to the Pacific, and you will eventually have met sea to sea.
Yep, kind of cool.
It is very cool, but I can't help but go. This has been such a huge endeavor. Years of work. This is your second year walking, and you're going to be doing it again next summer for a while.
Yeah.
What happens at the end of sea to sea?
Well, that's last year when we went home, I thought I lost my purpose. I went to a deep depressive state.
Yeah.
My brain couldn't get through the fact that was just the beginning and we'd be coming back out. So I had to pull myself out of a deep rut. This year, it's going to happen again. You're pulled out of an environment where everything is scheduled, and people may think we just randomly walk around, but there's places to be, people to see, crunch out kilometers. But the focus when I get back, obviously, will be planning stuff for next year in BC and Alberta, but also working on building a foundation out of the walk where we're able to raise money to help our veterans and public safety professionals, whether it's with treatment or, raising money to help out the volunteer organizations who are always at the end of the phone when we are in a crisis. So,
Right.
Yeah, it's no, it's not going away. We're here to stay.
No, that's good. I mean, that's good because ultimately it becomes such a huge, I don't know, it's a massive adrenaline hit that then your purpose, like you said, feels like it's gone. And that's something that really resonates with me, and I'm sure it will with many others who, are hit with this diagnosis, because if we can find something that gives us passion once again, because it's a part of me that feels dead a lot. It feels numb. I don't feel excitement at all. Generally, I don't want to do things. Instead of looking at, I've got a trip coming up, 2 trips coming up, and instead of looking at it with some level of excitement, I'm very already resentful about it. I can't wait till it's over because I feel like I can relax again. Now, I know I'm going to enjoy myself. I know I'm going to have fun, but it's everything that has to do with this fucking diagnosis, because it's getting there becomes an issue.
Yes.
Right? It's then who am I going to be interacting with? What's going to happen? I don't have control of certain things. And control for me becomes a big part of it. Not that I'm a control freak, but I've learned that when I walk into a situation, as soon as I control it, I'm safe.
Yeah.
When I don't control something, that's when I feel my safety's at risk. And so it becomes a big concern about, how is it you're going to be able to control things? C2C for PTSD, you guys have planned it out. You are in control of what's going on.
Right.
And you have other events, because just yesterday you guys were in Hobbart's. You guys have been invited out for a lobster dinner in Nova Scotia. I know you did some things when you were in New Brunswick. And, it's not just that you're walking and then you're in the vehicle and you're not seen. You guys are staying busy on this thing.
Yes.
So, that control issue, that filling your time issue has to be a big thing.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
I think when all of us are taken out of our work environment because of our injury, we can promote until we're blue in the face. Don't let the uniform define you.
Right.
But when we suit up in our uniforms and we go to work, it's structured. We don't know what calls we're going to be faced with, but basically you've got a shift to work. You show up, put on your uniform, and you take what's thrown at you. And then you go home and you're like, now what? So when we're off on injury, all of a sudden that scheduled environment's taken away from us. And I'm no different than anybody else. You find that depressive train. I'm just going to binge watch TV, eat crappy food, cry myself to sleep, and just, it's a weird thing.
No, I listen, I mean, that to me, that's a fucking Tuesday. That's a Tuesday and a Wednesday and I can't imagine having this like fucking before Netflix. Holy shit. Yeah, I don't know what I would have done. I mean, I'm joking, but it's like, seriously, I'm not sure what the hell I would have done with myself.
Like, how big was our VHS collection back
Right,
then?
I know. Yes, seriously.
When you have kids, it becomes Barney and,
Yeah.
all the Free Willy.
Right?
Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
My daughter can tell you. She knew 2 buttons on the VCR. That was rewind and play.
That's it. Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
No, but they don't have any idea of right now what Be Kind Rewind is. They have, that's just lost. That's lost on people.
I forgot about that.
That's just gone. Lisa, what about you when this is all said and done? What do you return back to? What's your plans thereafter?
Probably just back to my home routine, back to work, back to the kids, all their extracurricular activities and sports, and still trying to find a way to help Chad keep this going.
Yeah.
It'll just be keeping busy. But if it's anything like last year, there will be a month or 2 where I don't want to get out of bed.
Right. Yeah.
I miss these guys, and, I missed, like everybody has said, having that purpose. Surprisingly, I missed looking at Google Maps,
Yeah. No, I hear you. For sure. I hear you. I understand. Rick?
The biggest thing for me is being alone.
Yeah.
And one thing that this Lisa reminded us of this last summer, and Chad and I had been thinking all summer long of what we'd like to get for a tattoo to commemorate being on the road. And Lisa had tattooed on her arm, "Never Alone." And that really hit home for me because I feel alone. And I know I'm not.
You're not alone, brother. You are not alone, brother. No, you're not alone.
Sorry about that.
There's nothing to be sorry about at all. At all. And that is the worst thing, is feeling alone and being alone. It's not good, because ultimately, I believe that's when we can make some shitty decisions.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking right now, and she gave Rick a hug, and she's got her arm interlocked with his. And so, just to see that you guys you're a unit, you're a team. I mean, that hit me immediately when I met you guys at Tim Hortons out by the Stanfield Airport. It was obvious that you guys operated as a unit. And it really struck me as well that if you removed one of you from the unit, it just wouldn't function properly. And that doesn't mean just because the guy who's doing the walk-in, or the guy who's driving the truck, or the lady who's doing all the planning and walking and logistics, any one of those gets taken away, and this doesn't work. And so you guys have really learned how important you are to each other. And so I guess I just say that, Rick, in terms of you, brother, are not alone.
Right.
Not alone. And
Right.
You will always fucking have me. If you want to reach out to me, you reach out to me. And that is not a word. You just reach out to me.
That's something I've learned through this campaign for sure. And I have to thank Chad for that.
Yeah, it's good. And you have to reach out.
And Lisa, definitely.
Yeah. For those who are hearing things in the background, I failed to say this earlier, but we are recording live on location at Old Biddy's Brewhouse on a Sunday afternoon here. I want to thank Rob Truscott, who brews here, for making space for us to come in today. It was very, very cool of him.
Yes.
To be able to do that here. It's nice outside, which is cool. It wasn't supposed to be, so that's good. I feel that when I join your team, it brings sunshine and hot weather. I'm not.
Where the heck were you when we started off?
I know, man? Right? I know, yeah.
Where were you when we were in Manitoba?
Right. Exactly. Shit, exactly. Chad, listen. So people are going to want to know more about C2C for PTSD. For example, if you live in New Brunswick or Quebec or Ontario, Chad's already been through your area. He's been through there.
Yeah.
And people go, shit, I didn't realize it. But there's still ways they can get involved. There's still ways they can do things to help. There's still things that can be done for the greater good of this project and the end game, which we'll get into in a second. How is it that people become involved with C2C? How can they help?
Well, they can follow us on Facebook or Instagram. They can shoot myself, Lisa, Rick a message, and we'll gather some information. We'll get usually the good folks behind the scenes with the board of directors. Somebody will get in touch with them. If it's not us directly, it'll be somebody on the team behind the scenes. So yeah, it's the easiest way. Send us a personal message.
How do people get their hands on merch? Because I know you guys got lots of cool merch.
Oh, yeah. They can find us on the road because we got merch.
Yeah.
Or visit us at www.c2cforptsd.ca.
Okay. And I say C2C, so it's SEA, Sierra Echo Alpha 2, as in Tango Oscar, C2C for PTSD.
Yes.
Okay. And the merchandise is, you guys have hats.
Hats, shirts.
Patches.
Tumblers,
mugs, tumblers. Oh yeah,
pins,
a whole bunch of cool
keychains.
Stuff. Yeah, challenge coins,
toques.
Oh yeah, we got toques, man.
Wow.
And we have tap technology.
So there's no excuse, right?
There's no excuse.
There's no excuse. Yeah, no excuse. Don't give us that. Oh, I don't have cash.
That's right.
Yeah,
people have tried.
Nice bullshit.
Yeah,
I'll call it bullshit.
And there's also links on that C2C for PTSD website to donate either to Chad Kennedy at c2cforptsd.ca.
Yeah, e-transfer,
or through GoFundMe.
Or GoFundMe.
There you go. So there's all kinds of ways to get involved. So you go to PEI, then you come back to Nova Scotia for a little bit, and then you're heading into Newfoundland. So people in those provinces, get out and support. Walk a little bit with Chad. I will recommend that you don't walk as long as I did. Don't be a cocky asshole like I was. But get out and walk and join, give Rick a handshake, give him a hug, let Lisa know you're there and you care. And just when you're walking, Chad will talk and he'll listen. But yeah, be straight up, be honest with him, and he will reciprocate. I can say that safely. He will listen and he will reciprocate and open up as well. So, if you're feeling alone, if you are struggling right now, make that effort to get out of the house. and go walk a little bit, I guarantee you that you will feel better. I know, and I can say this, and I don't really give a shit that it's on the podcast. I don't say anything to blow sunshine up anyone's ass. I'm too much of a fucking stubborn, crooked arsehole for that. But the reality is that Wednesday, when I walked with you guys, that day and that night was the happiest I've been in a long time. I actually was really happy. And I went home super happy. And it's not very difficult to tell that when you hear the introduction of the most recent episode that came out, because you can hear in my voice that I'm happy. And that's something that you really don't hear a lot on the podcast. And, you know, I'm sitting around you guys today, and obviously we're kind of joking around. There's smiles, there's tears, there's smiles, there's hugs, there's everything. But yeah, I am happy to be here with you guys. And I'm very, I don't want to sound condescending, but I'm very proud of what you guys are doing. I love that you're bringing more awareness to this. The concept is to normalize this so it becomes more palatable. For if we can't do anything for us, then at least for future generations of brothers and our sisters that are going to be struggling, because ultimately it's not going away. I mean, people who are involved in, you know, first responder services, nursing, corrections, dispatch, military, I mean, I can go on and on, social work, I can go on and on and on and on and on. They're going to experience traumatic events. They will.
Yes.
And what we want is, again, to remove the stigma, make it more palatable and be okay to talk about it, and to not do what I know I'm guilty of, and I bet you guys are the same, and that's shove it under a rug, or put it in a box and put that box somewhere away and really just not deal with it. Feel like you're dealing with it fine and everything is great, but really and truly, and we learn when it's too late that we didn't deal with it, we didn't process it, and it's still there.
Right.
It's still there. Rick, is there anything at this point that you would like to add? Anything else you want to say? The floor is yours, brother.
Just that everybody needs to remember that you are never alone. It doesn't matter how alone you are, reach out, because somebody's there to listen. Somebody's there that will care, and somebody's there that will understand what you're going through. Just reach out, because you are never alone.
Well said, brother. Well said. Lisa, anything that you would like to add? The floor is yours.
Mostly just a reminder that every trauma counts. Every trauma matters. It doesn't matter how you got there, what caused it. Reach out, get some help, process it properly, deal with it properly. You know, I said in one talk that, you know, you may go through an event with somebody else and they may not be affected, or you may not be the one that gets affected, and that's perfectly okay. It doesn't matter. There's nothing wrong with you if you are affected or not affected. It's still trauma, and we still need to talk about it, and we still need to deal with it.
Well said.
Very well said.
Chad, anything that you would like to add, brother?
What Rick and Lisa had said is spot on.
Yeah.
I do have to send out a thanks to our top 3 sponsors.
Please do.
And not take away from anybody that's donated for the cause, but without the help of the Calgary Veteran Services Society, Legacy Place Society back home, and our good friend John at Wired Differently, truly, financially, this walk wouldn't have been able to happen. So thank you to them. Thanks to the team. Thanks to the support, not only here in Canada, but from around the world. We get messages from people. So,
it's amazing.
You know, it stands true no matter what country, what city, what county. You know, there are a lot of us that have earned the right to wear the color teal. It's an earned thing, and the numbers are staggering.
Yeah.
And you know, we always feel alone and that we're a minority, but truly we're not.
No.
Story is the same everywhere, and I can't emphasize enough that never alone. You're never alone. So
no, you're not. You're not alone. And I agree with you. That's the one thing I've learned is it's unbelievable how many people this has affected and that are really just still not talking about it, not saying anything. The one last thing I would like to ask, guys, each one of you, is if there is one thing that has not yet happened on this trip that you would like to happen, that if it happened would be really cool, would really make a big difference, would really hit home, what is it each one of you would like to see in the remainder of this trip?
I would love for more people to feel comfortable speaking about mental health amongst, you know, I mean, for everybody, obviously, but us in the military and public safety professions is just having a normal conversation surrounding such. Without all of us speaking up, we're never going to crush that stigma. We're never going to weed out the bullies in the workplace that will prey on our weakness.
That's right.
So really, it's standing up and uniting. And we know mental health doesn't have any barriers like politics, religion, all the COVID nonsense. Mental health is, the demon, PTS demon.
Yeah.
You want to know what my D
PTSD
stands
demon.
for?
Yeah.
It's the post-traumatic stress demon. Man, I just more people speak up.
Yep.
Why are we worried about what others think? The public really have no idea what we face on a daily basis, the smells, the taste, the hearing things, seeing things. This is all stuff we harbor inside for a long time.
That's right.
Because people have told us this whole time we can't talk about it.
Right.
So, we just got to get rid of that stigma and just start standing up as a society and say we need help.
Right. I agree. Lisa, Rick, anything?
I agree with Chad. We have to get out of that old world mentality where people are told that they have to suck it up and deal with it, get over it. That's the way I was raised, and it took me until this walk basically to learn that no, you don't need to get over it. You need to deal with it, and that's by facing it head on and talking about it with people that will actually listen to you. One thing Chad said before is that you don't go to a mattress store and buy the first mattress you look at. You try them out. That's the same with mental health professionals. And you can do that with the people you associate with as well. Some people will get it and some people won't. And if you get it, you get it. And you have to talk about it. Keeping those demons inside does nobody any good. It takes us to places we don't need to go.
I'm with you. Well said. Lisa, anything that you would like to see happen on this walk?
There's a few things, and while I've sat here thinking about it, they've gone in and out of my brain and left me. I think the biggest thing is we always talk about people reaching out, and it's super important because only you know what's going on.
Right.
But there are small indications that you can see in people. Like I know I snapped on a few people prior to going off, which is unlike me. So I'd like to see a bit more reaching in, checking on people. I've also gotten the impression before I left through talking to some individuals that they believe this is contagious. And if they talk to you about it, they're going to catch it. It's not contagious.
No.
It needs to be talked about. And I wish people wouldn't be so afraid to talk about it.
Yeah. Isn't that the weirdest thing? Like, I really don't get that. How it's almost when people find out, they want to maintain like a yardstick of a distance.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not painting everyone with that brush, but it does happen quite a bit that as soon as that comes out, it can change things. This is funny because this has become my new thing since doing the podcast, is I've become brutally transparent with people. So if there's someone I just happen to meet somewhere or whatever and foolishly asks how my week is going, I have no problem letting them know, man, my PTSD sucks this week. It's been horrible. Yeah. And I just wait to see their reaction. And usually their reaction sucks. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but it usually, they just, I don't know if they're frightened, if they don't know how to reply, or quite honestly, they really didn't give a shit in the first place. They just threw out that question of, hey man, how's things going? But they're not listening.
No, they're not. And
so that has become something that I've really focused on doing, is actually answering the question when someone asks and being honest and putting it out there. I'm not hiding behind this anymore. It's not a chance. And obviously neither are you, neither of any of you, but there's not a chance. And it has to come out. It has to come out. So we'll end off the episode with the opportunity, if there's anything that you guys, if there's one question, and I just said that I will answer anything openly and transparently. If there's one question each one of you guys want to ask me, feel free. No? Okay, good. Thank you.
I can't ask you where your favorite watering holes are because you've led me to two now.
I led you to a couple of them, yeah.
Yes, you have.
Yeah. I water a lot.
That's good.
Yeah, I water.
So do I.
I'm a gardener. Guys, I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you very much for your time, for making time to talk to me today. For everyone who is listening, track down C2C for PTSD for a number of reasons. What Chad, Lisa, and Rick are doing is absolutely fantastic. But there is also a ton of resources there. If you can't get involved with the walk, if you financially are unable to help, it's okay. It's totally okay. Ultimately, what they're trying to do is just become more aware of the issues, to make the public, to make everyone more aware of it, and for those of us who are struggling to step out, to stand up, and to be okay with not being okay.
Yeah.
Start a conversation.
Start a conversation. Yeah, start a conversation. Think about that. I mean, these are three people who are very humble. They have taken on a huge feat, something that could have easily been passed off as silliness while under the influence. But because Chad is obviously very big on being a man of his word and integrity, and he put it out there and he stuck with it. And because Lisa and Rick very much believe in what's happening here and what's going on, have joined. And this right here, C2C for PTSD, these three people right here are demonstrating to every one of us what can happen when we actually join together and help each other. My name is Larry Payton. I have your 6. Please have mine.
Don't go away. There's so much left to do, so many things I wanna say, and I sing, hey, don't make the change. If it rains every single day, I'll fight to blow it all away.